Hello to anyone viewing. I'm Colleen Kruger, Managing Director of Music Calgary. We're excited to be kicking off our Stand Up Music Talk series, which will be taking place every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, streaming live through our Facebook page. If you missed the talk live, you can catch our uploads of the conversation on all streaming platforms and on YouTube by searching Music Calgary, and we'll have them posted on our website as well on musiccalgary.ca. So, one moment, sorry. For our inspiration series, we'll be talking to our music industry guests who will be sharing stories and insights on how they got started working in music. We'll be looking forward to the conversations ahead and can see our upcoming guests on our website at musiccalgary.ca. Sound Off Talks is presented by Music Calgary, and we'd like to acknowledge this project is funded in part of Factor in the Government of Canada and Canada's private radio broadcasters. I would also like to take a moment to recognize that Music Calgary is located in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. And today we'll be talking with Curtis Running Rabbit-Lefthand. Curtis is an Indigenous multimedia creative producer, musician, and scholar. He is the founder of the Executive Artistic Director of Indigenous Resilience in Music, an Indigenous-led organization creating insight into the lives of Indigenous musicians and empowering Indigenous youth in reclaiming their identity in music and the arts. His work as the Executive Artistic Director at IRIM has assisted in creating the highly anticipated Indigenous-led music and arts festival, Rhythm of the People. He also sits on the Indigenous Advisory Committee for the Calgary Folk Festival. Festival manages the Wild Rose Hardcore Festival and is an advocate for better representation in Indigenous people in the music industry. Blackfoot creative, musician, and artist. He's set to release his debut record thereafter in the fall 2020 under his ancestral name Aastsista'mahkaa. Please. Aastsista'mahkaa. Curtis is a proud member of Blackfoot Confederacy and comes, and I'm just gonna welcome him into the room. So please bear with me while I figure that. I believe he's now. Oh, let's see. Okay. So I'll get Curtis to join in on the call. Curtis, hello.
Hello.
All right. Welcome. Okay. This is our first talk, so bear with us while we learn all these moving parts, but happy to have you for the first talk and part of our inspirational series. Your resume is impressive.
Thank you.
You have a very, very inspiring kind of credentials in terms of what you're doing.
Thank you.
In the community. So mainly wanted to sort of dive in, into like getting to know you and how you've gotten started in working in music, and some stories, maybe some highlights, first bands, the first CD that you ever bought, anywhere you want to start.
Cool. I guess I'll just introduce myself first, if that's okay, because I know you got my Indian name just a little off.
Yes,
that's
please.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, nastuanok Siksika and Aastsista'mahkaa amon nimuktotu mohkinsis and nastuanok Siksika and nastu Amskaapipikuni. Hello, my name is Curtis Running Rabbit-Lefthand. My Indian name is Aatsista'mahkaa, and and it comes from the ancient Blackfoot language of how to say running rabbit, which is an ancestral name transferred down to me from my great grandfather, who signed the Treaty 7 document that now puts us into this relationship together as peoples, with settlers and Indigenous folks in this area, being a part of Treaty 7, and his name was Aastsista'mahkaa. But yeah, thank you for having me. You already did the introduction of all the work I've been doing thus far, and yeah, Sugapi, I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. Yeah, that's got a story. Sorry, I'm going to change headphones. There we go. Yeah, an incredible background for your ancestral history. So what was the first, like, how did you find yourself working in the creative sphere, in the arts community?
It's kind of interesting because for me, growing up, my dad was a musician, and so a lot of the stuff that I learned within music and understanding, just like anything with like theory and playing an instrument, all came from him. At a young age, he would put me in front of a drum kit, actually like a 1970s drum kit he had like kept together and like well polished and everything, and he would just like put me behind it and be like, here, this is how you like play drums and learn rhythm and stuff like that. And from that, he just started showing me music, started showing me a lot of music that I listen to still today, and that veered from what he showed me back in the day to what I listen to today and everything. Like I said, I still listen to that stuff from back in that time. And he showed me like everything from like Bon Jovi, one of my favorite bands now, as it was his favorite band too, is the Eagles, like stuff like that I just grew up around. And then my siblings introduced me to like gangster rap and stuff like that. And I slowly moved from that as I grew up, learning more about different kinds of genres and different kinds of music. One is becoming a diehard fan of Joy Division, like at a pretty young age, just a diehard fan of like new wave stuff, and then eventually moving from that into finding hardcore punk music. And then through hardcore punk music, I found like just like a home for where I wanted to be within music, and getting into heavier music and whatnot. And so where it all started off was essentially my dad when I was younger.
Nice.
And he just showed me a lot of like music that I still, like I said, I still listen to today. But then a lot of stuff that I haven't listened to in a long time, but stuff that just like, is very close to my heart with just like how I understand music and whatnot. And it also gives me appreciation for other music, because my dad was never the type of person to really say he likes only one genre type of person. Like, this stuff is like, so like now, there was a time when I was like that, but then I realized, like that's nothing I was taught growing up. And I veer into like jumping into like, some days I'll listen to like old school like country music, which is a lot of people don't like country, but that's what I grew up with on the res. And then I will listen to I'll listen to hardcore punk, I'll listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of like lo-fi hip hop, a lot of gangster rap, and then other days I'll listen to like really sad new wave stuff and like emo stuff. And yeah, I jump back and forth. And I think that's where a lot of just like where my experiences and wanting to be a creative came from, is like learning music, and then that jumping into like, oh wait, I can do other things too. I can help put together showcases. I could help put together shows, like just promote shows. I can help, I can start writing my own music, and I started writing my own music for a long time too, and
Nice.
and playing in bands and stuff. Yeah.
What came first? Did you book a show, or were you in a band and booked your show? Yeah.
I was in this when I first started in like with a band. I was in this like really terrible metalcore band from like way back that I don't even know what we were thinking, but we just played like whatever we were listening to at the time. We were like, it was actually started for me and my stepbrother, my cousin, who actually passed on a while ago. But with me and him, we were into the same kind of music, and a lot of people from our res weren't really into that music at the time. And so we were like kind of like listening to a lot of this stuff and wanting to start a band, and found some homies in Calgary that we really connected with that would write with us. And then we started a really terrible band. And then and I think that was like, you were mentioning if there was like an aha moment earlier before it started. And I think that's where the aha moment came in. It was like playing your first show. And I was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. Not with this band, but like this is what I want to like want to be in music for the rest of my life.
Amazing. Where was the first show you played?
It was a hall. I just feel awkward talking about it. It was a hall. I can't remember. It was in Bowness. It was a hall like, I'm trying to remember the name of the hall, but like, do you know where that's? I don't know if you know Calgary very well, but like in Bowness, there's this cycle shop.
Oh yeah, Bonus Cycle. I think.
Yeah, Bonus Cycle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bike shop there, and it's literally like 2 blocks down from. I don't even know if it's even open anymore or if it even exists.
Amazing.
But yeah, we played there, and it was like, yeah, it was like a battle of the bands kind of thing, and a lot of us were kind of thrown into a ring of having to promote ourselves and whatnot, and then that's where I had that aha moment.
That's where you got the bug. You're like, oh, I want to play more shows. How do I play more shows?
And I had that before, but growing up on the res, you don't really see a lot of opportunities within music, and you know, there's a lot of things there that obviously or that can set you back, and I didn't really find that. And so when I moved off the res, I started seeing, like there's more potential for me to be in music, and which is funny because like along the way I stepped away from music for a while, and then I went into school, and then going to university and all of that stuff, and studying and with my degree studying in an area of academia that makes no sense towards like music at all. So but now I'm just like I'm fully invested in music, although I'm still continuing on in school and stuff, but it's just different. But yeah, most
definitely. What are you studying in school?
Law.
Nice.
Yeah.
Legal does come into play in terms of arts understanding.
Well, I mean, it's a specific area of law, but
right.
well, now I'm going into a specific area of law.
Cool.
Actually, I just transferred out of a program into a joint degree program. Anyways, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So you were the founder of the Indigenous Resilience in Music?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off there.
Well, just to find out more about what the organization does and how you were inspired to found it or start it, and how it supports the community, I guess, overall.
So it's funny because that organization, like what we're doing right now as an organization for like IRIM, is we never really we had the intention to eventually move into promoting shows and doing showcases and everything like that, but which is where my heart is still at. Like the majority of everything we wanted to start off with, and which is where we started off with in the organization 4 to 5 years ago, was we wanted to just do youth programs for youth. We didn't really want to do like what we're doing now, which is like having a festival and doing showcases and stuff like that, because people like obviously have like there's more a lot of people are drawn to that for sure. Mm-hmm. But for us, we really wanted to just like start at the beginning of it, start with doing youth workshops, and through those workshops just like help build the community better, because we saw like a lot when actually it happened when I was actually on tour. I was in Thunder Bay, and I was playing with this band that I was just like filling in for on a tour, and I had realized that there was, I saw these Indigenous kids. Actually, no, it was in Thunder Bay that I was like feeling this like move to like, start up something that's like focused on Indigenous people, and specifically Indigenous youth. And then we played a show. It was the last show of that tour, and so I was like thinking about this for a while, and we were traveling from Thunder Bay, and then we were getting to why am I drawing a blank here? In Saskatchewan, Queen City. They call it Queen City. What? Regina, Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah, that's anyways.
Fair. Regina. No. It's funny because there's this band that I know that they always have this like Queen City hardcore, and like anyways. But we're in Regina. We were playing a show there, and I saw these Indigenous kids at the show, And while they were there, I went up to talk to them, and they had come there without like not knowing anyone. And I didn't even tell the band like this experience too, and you know, and the band also too was like, you know, they're a young band, and I already had experience like touring and stuff, and I saw these Indigenous kids that were there, and I talked to like one of them, and I guess one of them had been following me on Instagram, and they saw that I was on tour with this band, and it just like kind of left me. I was like, whoa, like, you know, and this is really cool. And one of them, like the person who follows me on Instagram, said like, I came to the show because I never see a lot of Indigenous people playing emo music, and it was an emo band, and it was like that was like, for me, already being in the music industry for a certain amount of years, and then leaving it, and then I was just like touring and playing in bands and stuff. I guess that's like still in the music industry, but I was like kind of at a distance with it. That was like my second aha moment of like, whoa, this is important. Like, these youth need to be encouraged, and I don't want to use the word empowered, but just encouraged to be a part of the music industry, or be a part of music, and to pursue a life in music. And that's where, when I got back, I sat down with some homies and was just like, hey, we need to help out some kids. Like, I don't care what genre of music you play, like, we're all musicians. Like, we need to help out these kids on the res that need this, they need that encouragement. And then move from that into where we are now, where it's like, you know, growth. We've partnered with organizations. Actually, the first show we partnered with on was with one of my cousins, actually. I think he's a part of the board for Music Calgary too. Richard Sparvier, with his group called Drumbeat Productions, and we partnered on a showcase. And then that's when it just kind of like, from that, was like, okay, you know what, this is something that people need. And then from that, it was like, you know, like, okay, well, let's do this. So it kind of like, you know, for me, I was already promoting shows for so long before then, and left promoting shows and then starting back into it, but in a different area of promotion, and in a different area of putting shows on and showcases for artists. And now like focusing on Indigenous artists. And then through that process, it moved into where we're at now as an organization. You know, like we've gone through, we've done a lot of work, and now it's like, you know, it's more than just myself. And now we have a festival, we do showcases. We're obviously doing virtual programming now because that's all we can do. And so the idea of that whole organization is like kind of circling back to it, is that we just want to encourage youth, Indigenous youth specifically, encourage Indigenous youth through like youth programs and whatnot, and then also like giving Indigenous musicians a platform to share their music with people that may have never heard them before, but also just giving them that opportunity to show that they are talented. And there's like such amazing Indigenous talent, which I know you have experience seeing artists like that too. And we see examples like that all the time with like, you know, Sebastian Gaskin, Jeremy Dutcher, like all these different amazing musicians. And it's just like we just want to be a part of that work in creating that platform alongside
It's like become a really great channel. Like, just from that one experience, it was inspired, and now it's like a very like strong channel for young artists to like get their foot in the door or connect with the community and branch out from there if they don't feel like they know where to start.
Awesome. We also have artist residency programs now too, which we can't do because of COVID, but and that's another thing.
What's the best means, like, if anyone to listen to this wants to reach out, it's just to find you on social media?
Find us on social media, and then, you know, like our artist residency program will continue on. Like, our first artist residency that had to be canceled because of like COVID, you know, we're circling back to like figuring out a contingency plan towards that. So our residency program is kind of closed right now. And then as we build up, we'll be opening up for applications to apply. And our applications are very, the way they're set up is to accommodate a lot of Indigenous, it's mainly for Indigenous musicians. Like, if you're non-Indigenous, you won't be able to apply into it. But for Indigenous musicians, it's accommodating like their needs as much as we can. So we like, you know, with that, and that's the other thing is like having that opportunity, we cover a lot of the costs for Indigenous artists to be a part of a residency program, because a lot of the times a lot of Indigenous musicians don't have the financial backing to go into a residency and put a record together, and then pay it or offset costs that they need to offset that are like high, and right. And so we essentially just wanted to kind of change that for Indigenous musicians, either coming from the res, coming from their own ancestral homelands that, you know, might not have the money. So we really offset all of that for the artists as much as we can, just accommodate them. But yeah, so applications for that probably won't open until the new year for our next edition. But that's, again, is all depending on on COVID and where we're at by 2021.
Yeah, totally. We're all in the same boat. Yeah, amazing though. Like, yeah, what a great like advocacy to like move things forward. Yeah, you're multifaceted. You're an artist director for festivals. You sit on boards to help sort of guide some decisions for the Indigenous community within other groups and organizations and connect them. You're going to school.
Well, school, I've been out of school for a year. For about a year. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, either way. Multifaceted and moving things forward. What was the first, I would ask this random question, but what was the first album you remember that you purchased and you were like listening to it on repeat endlessly?
That's a hard question.
A CD or a tape cassette? I'm really sure.
Okay. There's actually, so there's two of them. The first, actually no, there's three. You're gonna laugh at this, but so the first three are Eagles deluxe edition of their, I can't remember what the record with Hotel California on it. Why am I drawing a blank on that? That record, which came with a DVD box set that like had like a performance on there as well. So that and Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, and then Prozac Worldwide. I can't remember. Yeah.
It's a great combo.
Yeah. And I don't know why those were the first that I like had come across. I think it was my sister who like had bought me these records and were just like, here you go. And I try to remember, because it was a couple of them I got for Christmas, and one of them my dad just gifted to me, which was the Eagles record. Nice. But then those other records, I think they just like came from like, Christmas, and my sister gave me for Christmas, and I was listening to them. Yeah, and then that was like the first like, but at the same time, like outside of the records I didn't buy, I was still listening to music that like, you know, I always like have this thing when I go home back to my res where I'll blast like either the Eagles or Bon Jovi, and before that, like, you know, Bryan Adams, before finding out he's a racist, and all this stuff, and I would like listen to it, and I would just blast it and just like roll my window down, and like, because that's what I would do when I was a kid, right? And so like it brings back that memory of like driving with my dad, and he would be blasting like the Eagles, just like Bon Jovi, all these old like dad rock bands like CCR and stuff like that, and I would just be like, yeah. And I had like really long hair when I was a kid, so I would just be like head out the window like it was like, and I always peace and
love. and this might lead into the best next question. What was your first concert?
Ooh, okay.
I'm hoping it's like something really left field.
First actual concerts. I want to say it's Blue Rodeo. That's when I was younger though, and when I was a kid, I remember it was Calgary Folk Fest. What year was that? It was super young. It was like the first concert I ever gone to.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, you have to look back into the logs like Calgary Folk Fest and everything. But yeah, anyways, that was like the first show, but the first concert that I felt like I actually like went to and felt like it was the first show that I got to experience where I was like, okay, you know, I love Blue Rodeo. Don't get me wrong, I love Blue Rodeo. That's actually another band that I grew up on as well. My dad.
Oh yeah, they're classic Canadian.
But one of the actually Ian Tyson was another artist because he actually went to school with his kids, and so my dad would always like play a lot of like Ian Tyson like way back and stuff and whatnot, because we're actually kind of friends with the family too, so it was like an interesting because they live close to a reservation that I partially grew up on, right? And but anyways, but the first concert I actually fully had gone to, and like, you know, my full attention was probably Under Oath, this metalcore band from like, they're still around today, but they're like this metalcore band that I was like, you know, I was a teen and I was like, oh yeah, like trying to be super rebellious and into this emo music and whatnot. And that was like my first official concert that I was like, whoa, like I really want to.
Yeah, you're like, I want to be on the stage.
Yeah,
I want to be part of this. That's
because they blew me away. I like saw them and I was like, holy crap, like this is what it's like. And I didn't even know what I was getting. I come from the res, so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm really embarrassed to say that I'm sharing Lois and Bram.
Actually, no. I'm going to correct myself. That's actually, I just realized this. That's not the first concert. That was the second concert I went to. The first concert I ever gone to was Our Lady Peace at Stampede.
Oh
like
yeah,
a long
amazing.
Time ago. Like
in like the late 90s?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 2001 or 2000 or 2001.
That was a good cycle in the alternative music genre.
Yeah. And I was super young, and I also like, I would listen to Our Lady Peace on the radio and stuff, and whenever we burned CDs off of LimeWire, and and Our Lady Peace was one of those bands that I saw them live, and the vocalist was crazy. He was like climbing up on the rafters, like, and he would like trick people. He was like you know, making a motion that he was gonna jump off the rafters, and I was just like, this kid just like, what the heck is this guy doing? And
amazing.
That
sounds awesome.
So Our Lady Peace.
Amazing. Our Lady Peace, and then Under Oath. So you have like quite a spectrum of music taste, which I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you have to.
And your festival lineup was exceptional, and I'm very sad that it wasn't able to go through this year, but look forward to all the future things you put together.
And I'm actually kind of bummed about that, because the day that we had to cancel, the day that we would have been announcing the final lineup with all the artists, including our main headliner, which I think people would have been like super excited about, we had to cancel the day after that, and we couldn't even announce the artists, and we're like, it was just so it's really heartbreaking and whatnot, but like, you know, it is what it is. And,
and as we're all saying it, we're in this together. We wanted to have these kind of talks to just sort of root back to like why we do this and why we work in music, and just some of the fun, inspirational kind of moments that are our aha moments. Because I feel like I have so many of those, and like, I don't know, sort of nice to like hear other people and just understand that getting into music is more of a matter of like passion and like process, and it's a journey, and it's like all these little steps leading to the bigger picture of it. So
and it's interesting too. It's interesting too, because there's like a huge contrast between like, you know, being an Indian coming from the res, and like the stuff like I'm involved in with like, you know, doing my duties as like the societies I'm part of within my community and whatnot. And I just think about like the two different contrasts of that, like how like, I'll be like putting a TP together, and I'll get an email saying like, oh, you need to do this and this and this, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm just trying to live in like an Indian lifestyle, and then like I have to email this person. It's like, you know, it's so crazy. But anyway,
amazing. But you've literally become a bridge. So like you're connecting those two worlds, two communities, in terms of creating a bridge so that we can all work together in a good in any kind of way that we are inspired to, you know?
Thank you.
But I guess we can outro, and then just leaving your own words of inspiration to anybody getting into music. or anyone that's like interested in pursuing an arts career or supporting or doing any kind of work within the arts, like what kind of advice would you give somebody?
Holy.
Yeah.
One of the things that we actually IRIM started this series called Calling Our Spirits Home. It's a talk series as well, and one of the things we're really focusing on with that series is we really want specifically for Indigenous artists and musicians, a lot of the issues that we see happening like right now, where you're isolated and you can social distance, hang with friends and stuff like that, and go like there's a little bit of like lifting up these these restrictions and whatnot, but like being safe, you should live in that isolation and try to be like very careful, wear a mask and everything like that. But like one of the things we noticed when this first all happened and the pandemic hit like pretty heavily, and it still is hitting pretty heavily, was that a lot of musicians or Indigenous musicians and artists were kind of put in a place where we have to just like face our traumas and whatnot, and put in a place where we have to just face things that that are like difficult in a lot of ways, but then also I guess for that series is what we wanted to talk about was like how can we move from how can we shift gears in this time to like focus on those healing aspects, and like what does healing look like, so that Indigenous musician or Indigenous creative or Indigenous person or executive working in the music industry, like the music industry really, really dark for a lot of Indigenous musicians. A lot of it doesn't accommodate our spirituality, it doesn't accommodate our ways of knowing in a lot of aspects, and you're constantly faced with that. But then being put into isolation, you also have to face that with all certain traumas and everything like that. You also have to face that, okay, well, what's going to happen once things go back to normal? Am I just going to go back and perform showcases, run showcases, do all this stuff as an Indigenous person while this space doesn't accommodate my ways of knowing? And so with that series, we're really talking about like how can we focus on that to better prepare ourselves for like what the industry is going to be like for us as we move back into those spaces, and then taking up that space to be like, we all deserve that time of healing, but we also have to preserve our ways as well too. And how do we do that in tandem? So like a lot of the it's a general term that a lot of people like say, well, in Blackfoot culture is igakima, and that just means to try hard and do your best. And a lot of it was just like you give everything you have for this thing, for something you want, and you always work your hardest for that. And so for anyone working in the music industry, right now I work outside of working with the Wild Rose Hardcore Fest. I work specifically with Indigenous musicians a lot of the time. And so I think that for me, I feel like this is a time of like healing and everything, but a time to also assess how you want to take up that space and bring your ways of knowing and your perspective into that space so that you can occupy it in a healthy way and bring light to it, that a lot of the industry is pretty dark, and make that space for yourself to heal and work within that, and to be and then just improve your craft, whether you're a musician, whether you're an executive working in the industry, you're a manager, whatever it may be, an agent, whatever it is, just having that time to assess yourself. And this is a perfect time to do that. And especially being a musician, is that that's what I'm doing is I'm just writing music, and
amazing.
That's
using your time. That's great advice. Use your time to retreat inwards and sort of replan or reshuffle and make sure things are working. There's it's a unique time that we actually have this space to plan. So that never happens in music industry. It's always this hamster wheel, and it's constantly going. So it's a unique time. And wear your mask.
Yeah, wear your mask.
For all of you people listening in 2047. And that's let's just project what the future looks like. It's
I was gonna say if we even survive that. No, just kidding.
we'll get there, and music will survive it, and it's gonna be great. But yeah, really appreciate you joining us and for our first series talk. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I love your story. You're inspiring, and you work hard, and you do so many things.
Thank you.
Hopefully people take away that they can do it as well. Yeah, cool. Have a great day.
Yeah. Do we move into the one-on-one?
I don't know how to do that, so I'm just gonna end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Bye everybody. Ciao.
See ya. Thank you, Sugapi.